shut up and sit down.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the first official edition of Beef Raw. I am Beef the Legend from the Pittsburgh Piledriver podcast, and today I am coming to you with everything that I think is important in the world, which means that you should also think it's important if you're watching this channel. First, I do want to say that the views expressed in this video are the views of one Beef the Legend, aka Beef Martin, and are not the views of Pittsburgh Piledriver podcast. Therefore, you cannot hold any views held on this video against said podcast. I know Ransom does it too. I know Ransom has his own channel. He likes to share back and forth. I don't have my own channel yet. So, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to be doing stuff here. So, first of all, big shout out to bensound.com for the awesome beds for my intro and outro music. Super great tunes on that site, and appreciate the ability to use them. So thank you so much, bensound.com. We'll mention the sponsors here as well. Want to thank Casual Gaming Dad over on Facebook, as well as on YouTube and on Twitch. Go subscribe to him, give him a like, give him some comments if you haven't already. Want to thank Sean Tischler and the work he does with IWC in Clearfield. I know that the proceedings are starting to happen a little bit quicker, so hopefully we get some IWC action back in Clearfield sooner rather than later. And also want to thank the third and not least by any means sponsor, Frigoff Ransom. Hilarity ensues over on the Frigoff Ransom channel, as well as every Tuesday night with us on Among Us. So check us out. Also, special announcement, speaking of Among Us, the Pittsburgh Piledriver podcast will be on Among Us Thursday night. So please join us for that. I believe we'll have a hard start time of about 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That may change if we need to do picks. We're going to roll with it, but be ready by 9. I want to thank Poot Bard for this awesome cut. First piece of actual leather I think I've ever owned in my life, so I'm pretty excited about that. All the thank yous are out of the way, so we're going to move on to stuff that I think is important, which again, if you're watching this video and if you're watching this channel, means you probably think it's important as well. Maybe not, I don't know, because I'm kind of all over the place. On the podcast, you hear me talk a lot of wrestling. That's what I know. I like to think I know wrestling pretty well. I like to think I know football pretty well. Video games, you know, Casual Gaming Dad's going to be your guy. Tiger Bomb Tom. Music, Poot's going to be your guy. Weaponry, defending yourself, how to, you know, stage an uprising or a coup. That's going to be the Mad King. Here you're going to get my take, my armchair take on sports and the like. First, though, I do want to start with this. Behind me, you can see we are coming upon Summerslam in the desert. That is only like 4 weeks away. Time is flying when we're having fun, and we're always having fun at the Pittsburgh Piledriver podcast. So SummerSlam's coming quick this year. Seems quicker than most. Maybe it's because of how the WWE has their events set up haphazardly. I don't know. But, yeah, it's coming quick. We're already looking at Roman versus Cena. I mean, you know, Roman said he doesn't accept the challenge, but come on, we know it's coming. As well, we're looking at Goldberg versus Lashley. Again, they're going to have a couple weeks of will they, won't they, but those matches are going to happen. So there's your main events. Probably Charlotte versus Rhea for the women's title. I know that Nikki ASH is currently the holder. Would not surprise me to see that change tonight. Who knows what's going to happen with everybody else? I guess we'll see. That's coming up quick. A lot of great things are happening. This is an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. So, the dust is settled, I think. Tempers have calmed. I am a much clearer-headed guy today than I was on Monday night. If you tuned into Facebook, you probably saw my tirade on Monday night. I still don't agree with a lot of what happened. I still think it's mostly bullshit. I still think it's just god-awful booking with no long-term prerogative. But hey, at the same time, I'm going to be watching Raw tonight. So they must have done something right. Oh, and before I forget, I know that I'm going to get some comments. Beef, your green screen looks funky. Beef, your cutout, you look weird. We're getting some... You listen, I'm using OBS, and I'm using the green screen through Skype. Little hacksaw there. I'm not a streamer. I don't have a green screen set up in my house. This is the best you're going to get. Deal with it. So, so Summerslam's coming up quick. NXT 36 is coming up the day after SummerSlam, which I think will be a great event. We've already gotten Ilya Dragunov versus Walter scheduled for that event. We're also going to get Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross. Again, that's not official, but it probably will be. Where the card goes after that is up for grabs. Wouldn't surprise me if we see Cameron Grimes versus, I keep on calling me Eli Drake, LA Knight. Again, which, hey, why not? Cameron Grimes is printing all the money right now. And I imagine we'll probably see a women's title match between Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. That seems to be in the works as well. So, throw in MSK versus pretty much anybody. Ciampa Thatcher, GYV, or both. It doesn't matter. I think that both of those teams are great. And maybe a cruiserweight title defense by Kushida, and I'm happy. So, that's, and probably Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, Fuffery, who knows where that's going to go. So that's coming up, and we'll hit a lot of that coming up on the shows forthcoming. By the way, just in case you live under a rock and you haven't been paying attention to our shows, show number 100 of the Pittsburgh Piledriver podcast will be the week of SummerSlam. So our 100th episode spectacular will be that week. I'm sure we'll get something cool coming up. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not the one who records it. I just show up and talk every week. So, before I get into wrestling content, though, I do want to talk about Masters of the Universe. Why? Because this is my show. This isn't the Pittsburgh Piledriver podcast. This isn't Frig Off Ransom. This isn't, Casual Gaming Dad. This isn't Put the Bard Let's Play. This is Beef the Legend, Beef Raw, where you get my raw talk about any number of issues, including television. And I don't watch a ton of TV. I mean, I do watch a ton of TV, but it's mostly background while I'm playing a video game or whatever. I did, however, saddle in and watch Masters of the Universe Revelations, start to finish, 1 through 5 on Saturday, the day after it debuted. Currently, IMDb has a 5-point-something rating. I think it's a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's rubbish. I'm never a guy that is hey, let's see what the critics think before I go and watch this movie or after I watch the movie, because I don't give a fuck what people think anymore. I really, really don't. So that being said, it's getting pretty. It's getting pretty toasted for two reasons. Spoilers, by the way. So if you want to avoid being spoiled by Masters of the Universe Revelations, you may want to fast forward about 5 minutes into the future. So, and that was your warning. Here we go. Spoiler territory starts now. So a lot of people are upset, and it's mostly like the men, the guys, the oh, I hate this because of this, oh, I hate this because of transgenders, oh, I hate this because two guys are kissing, oh, I hate this because yee. It's getting a lot of man hate because it does not focus around He-Man. In the first episode, Prince Adam, is killed by Skeletor. Him and Skeletor, basically Skeletor finally breaks into the Castle Gray's skull, and he and He-Man have a big climactic fight that ends with them both being destroyed, as well as the Sword of Power. And so we are left with like a post-apocalypse. I don't know if that's the best word, but it kind of is. Basically a post-Magic Eternia version of Teela, who's kind of a badass. No, who is a badass. There's no kind of. Who is a badass. Basically, she gets pissed off that everybody kept a secret from her about Prince Adam being He-Man, but everybody else knew. And so she gets pissed off, and she leaves the royal family. She leaves Man-at-Arms. Man-at-Arms is disgraced and sent away from the palace to live in exile. Just a lot of shit's happening. So the show basically follows Teela as she is working with Evil Lyn to get the magic back in Eternia. Without the magic, Eternia is dying, and so when the Sword of Power broke, the magic left Eternia, and without the magic, Eternia is dying. The magic people in Eternia are dying. Evil Lyn, I almost called him Gwildor. Fuck, Orko. Jesus, man, Gwildor. That's a throwback. Orko is dying. Like they're both like succumbing to not having magic. So Teela goes on a quest to save Eternia yet again, but this time without Prince Adam, aka He-Man. People are upset. Oh, it doesn't contain. Oh, the show's called He-Man. No, man. The 80s show was called He-Man. This show is called Masters of the Universe Revelations. Big fucking difference. Okay? It's not false advertising if they say, oh, the new He-Man show's out. Nope. The new Masters of the Universe show is out. Okay? I get it. I get that we're all conditioned to know and love He-Man. And when we hear Masters of the Universe, it goes hand in hand with He-Man. Nope. And you know what? I'm here for it. Teela being a badass, I'm here for it. Also, it was part 1. At the end of part 1, we see Prince Adam in the Elysium Fields of Eternia, where all the great, the warriors go, basically the He-Men of their generation, go after they've died. In order to recraft the Sword of Power, they have to go to, what amounts to Eternia Hell and Eternia Heaven. Well, Prince Adam decides that he's going to leave the Elysium Fields and go back to Eternia, knowing that full well that if, when he dies, he may not get to go back to there because he's given up his pass. So, this is part 1. Part 2 ended with the cliffhanger of Skeletor surprisingly coming back, saying that he was hiding in Evil Lyn's staff. As soon as, Prince Adam comes back, grabs the recrafted Sword of Power and tries to put the power back in Eternia, the magic back into Eternia. Skeletor comes back and grabs, stabs He-Man, stabs Prince Adam, grabs the Sword of Power, And then Skeletor says, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power. And we end on this big cliffhanger where Skeletor is the man, which fucking about time, right? Fuck. Him and Mumra, man. They've been toiling away for Shredder too, fucking decades. They deserve a win. So Skeletor finally won, and that's the end of part 1. Spoiler alert. Part 2 is probably going to contain some more He-Man. I'm just throwing out a guess. So if you have your big fucking dual tire, dual engine, dual exhaust, fucking little dick truck underwear up in a bunch. No, there's no He-Man in He-Man. He's coming. Fucking take it easy, man. I thought it was great. I don't get the hate. I thought it was well written, well acted. A bevy of great storytellers. Sarah Michelle Gellar plays Teela. Justin Long is in it. The original voice of the guy who played the original Candyman is in it. Mark freaking Hamill plays Skeletor. So, I mean, and like, you know, Dime Store Liam Neeson, I think his name was like Liam Cunningham or something, which was weird. But he sounds just like fucking Liam Neeson, plays Man-at-Arms. So, like, there's not a lot to hate about the show unless you're stuck in the fucking 1980s, both developmentally and socially. So, fucking man up, cowboy up, and enjoy it, man, because I liked it. You know, Kevin Smith did a great job writing it, and I'm excited for part 2. End rant on Masters of the Universe Revelations. So yeah, let's talk some wrestling. I was very, very disappointed with how Money in the Bank turned out, as well as how Raw turned out. I think hand in hand, they were a couple of stinkers. John Cena's return, great. John Cena's promo on Monday night, great. Roman Reigns' promo on Friday night, great. Finn Balor challenging Roman Reigns on SmackDown, great. Like, that's all good stuff. The stuff in between didn't really work for me. I've said it ad nauseum, so I'm not going to jump in. I am pissed off about how Keith Lee was booked. I think that Goldberg coming out after his big return was basically putting Keith Lee back on ice. It is what it is. I think that them hot potatoing the Raw Women's title is not doing anybody any favors. And I think the crowd is ready for Becky Lynch. Obviously, you can hear them. They are ready to embrace her coming back and winning the title back. Ergo, there's a problem. Raw right now is in the crux of trying to, allegedly, create new stars. And Rhea Ripley, I think, was one of those new stars that are trying to be created. Now, here's the thing. If Becky Lynch comes back, who is a superstar, I'm not going to mince words. Becky Lynch was super over, like almost Daniel Bryan, Steve Austin over, if not more so. Becky Lynch coming back could spell a lot of problems for Rhea. I like Rhea okay as a heel, but I think that her charisma shines truly as a face. The other direction that they could go in is having Becky Lynch face off against Charlotte for the 97th time. That's the problem whenever you have 4 to 5 dependable people to carry your main event or your titles. You inevitably get the same matchups over and 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 over again. AEW, for what it's worth, has not had that trouble because they're constantly putting people into new positions. Save for extended feuds like Jericho and MJF. Sure, they're meeting a couple times here and there, But I think that it's a blood feud at this point. And you're going to have that with blood feuds. I had to hydrate. Talking too much. So, I think that they're in a lot of trouble whenever Becky Lynch comes back, unless she comes back to SmackDown. And then, oh wait, same thing. You have Bianca Belair, who is a proven commodity and a proven star, and if she comes back on SmackDown, I mean, are the fans going to cheer Becky or Bianca? I don't know. Probably Becky, which would just, pound salt for the last 8 months of what you've done for Bianca. So, her return being imminent, honestly, is probably not the best of news. At least not yet. Give these new girls, Rhea and Bianca, about a year. Have Becky come back at the Royal Rumble or whatever. Then yeah, you know what? They've had time to establish themselves. But right now, not so much. I really feel like the main event at SummerSlam, well, the Raw main event, which is going to be Lashley versus Goldberg. Goldberg is a stand-in for Lesnar. I think that they wanted Lesnar, but Lesnar's in fuck off Canada. Like, he doesn't fucking care. He doesn't want to see people. He doesn't want to expose himself to this virus that's still hanging around. Which, oh, by the way, it is still hanging around. Especially with him having diverticulitis that ended his MMA, well, that more or less ended his MMA career. I don't blame him, man. And Brock Lesnar was never a people person to begin with. Like, he's a weird cat, man. He goes to the beat of his own drum, and I respect that, and that's his right. He's a bad dude, and bad dudes get to do what they want. Now, it's frustrating because you can't just say, oh, this is the biggest show this year, because it is. They're looking 40-ish thousand in the Death Star out in the desert. That's Allegiant Stadium for those not in the know. So I don't know if they're gonna. I mean, that's what they want. We'll see what happens with this whole Delta variant thing. Still have a month between then and now. Lots could happen. So like they want this to be their biggest show of the year with the crowd being back and all that, but realistically, I don't know. Goldberg versus Lashley does nothing for me. I think it's going to be a short match. I think it's going to be a bullshit match, and I don't think it's needed. But apparently people still pop for Goldberg. I don't know. I'm more excited about Cena versus Reigns. Either Cena finally beats Ric Flair's record, which is needed at this point. Somebody needs to break it because I'll get to that in a minute. Somebody needs to break Flair's record. And I think Cena's the guy that deserves to do it, He's one of the greatest of all time, up there with Hogan and Austin and The Rock. So, if not Cena, then who? So you either get that, or you get Reigns beating Cena decisively and getting Cena to acknowledge him, which I think would do wonders for Reigns' character. For those in the wonder, I'm hoping for the latter. I'd really love to see Reigns win and continue this path of dominance. And I'm interested to see who would eventually unseat him as champion. So, that's SummerSlam as we know it, coming up quick again. But hey, I'm sure that they will do okay. They always do. I may complain, I may bitch, I may whine, I may moan. But at the end of the day, I watch most, if not all, the pay-per-views. So, yeah. I'll watch SummerSlam. I'll watch NXT. Despite me maybe not having a reason to do so, I will do that. Just that. Now, I'm more excited for the next month of AEW. Part of that's selfish because we have tickets for the August 11th Dynamite and the premiere of August the 13th Rampage on TNT. I'm hoping, knock on wood, that we get a debut on Rampage, either Punk or Bryan. And that's another reason why I'm super excited about AEW right now, is because, if you believe the dirt sheets, allegedly, Bryan and Punk have both put ink to paper. Both contracts are done deals. Both will have similar deals. Punk will be on TV more often than not. Bryan remains to be seen. I think this is big brain by AEW to bring in both these guys. It's a no-brainer. They're two of the best wrestlers on the planet. And they already have Kenny Omega, one of the best wrestlers on the planet. They're basically, Tony Khan is basically assembling his Infinity Gauntlet. All he's missing is AJ Styles. And then he can snap away the WWE. Oh, if only that were the case. But yeah, so CM Punk, if you guys didn't know, CM Punk is probably my favorite wrestler of all time. He's a guy that I got to follow through the indies, that I got to see on his way to the top. I got to see him in Ring of Honor. I got to see him, at PWG. I got to see him briefly in TNA. That's right, he was a part of Raven's stable in TWA with Julio De Niro. That's right, folks. There's some old school fucking TNA. That may have even been NWA TNA at that point. Old school knowledge for you. Julio De Niro, by the way, super fucking cool. He used to wrestle for KCW, Keystone Championship Wrestling, all the time out in Altoona. He helped train Casanova Cato, one of my favorite dudes out there. Cato thinks like a booker, I think like a fan, so no. Cato thinks like a booker, I think like a smark, so we don't always see eye to eye, but Cato's one of my favorite dudes. He gets it, and he's a smart dude. So props to him. When we talk about Imagine Wrestling happening over in Central Pennsylvania, he's a guy who helps book it, helps train it. So, but yeah, Julio De Niro was in KCW more often than not back in the day, like 20 years ago now. And yeah, it was cool to see him with Punk on TNA, both under Raven's stable. That was really, really, really cool to be like, oh, I know that guy. I don't know him, but I've seen him up close and personal more often than anybody else, pretty much. So, but yeah, so CM Punk was a guy that I got to kind of watch grow up in the business, and that's not fair. Whenever I got to Punk, he was pretty much already the best wrestler on the planet. He just wasn't in WWE for whatever reason. So I got to watch his rise to stardom, and as soon as he showed up on ECW, I'm like, dude, this guy's going places. He was ECW champion very quick thereafter. Then got called the main roster. He was Intercontinental champion, boom, immediately. I think he came in second in King of the Ring that year, only to William Regal, who was the general manager at the time. And then, the pipe bomb. Actually, before the pipe bomb was some of his best work on SmackDown, where he worked under a hood with the Straight Edge Society. Basically, he would get people to come out of the crowd and do the thing. I pledge to, be straight edge, blah, blah, blah. That's how Serena Deeb originally got involved with WWE, was the Straight Edge Society, and of course, Doc, don't call me Luke Gallows, that was his coming out party, because before that he was Festus, and oh my God, talk about missing on a character. So Straight Edge Society was killer. He ended up having, I think, a mask versus hair match with Rey Mysterio, where he got his head shaved and he wore the hood, which was great. And then transitioned into the leader of Nexus whenever that was still a thing. Did great with that. And then Nexus led to the pipe bomb, led to Chicago at Money in the Bank, led to the Summer of Punk. You know, there's your CM Punk story. And the dude, you know, could read the writing on the wall from 3 miles away. He knew that WWE was going to miss the boat on him and Daniel Bryan both. Put his foot down and just didn't show back up for work. Took his ball and went home. Understandable. He's frustrated. You know, I'm sure Ransom would say that, you know, that's not the cool thing to do. You got to finish out your job because you got a commitment. I get it. But if you're frustrated, you know, I also understand that point of view. Believe you me, more than most, if you want to pack up your shit and go home because you're frustrated with your job, that's understandable. So then he did the MMA thing. Props to him for trying, but like he was an old dog jumping into a new pool with young, hungry athletes. I don't think it would have ever worked. Even as conditioned and as awesome as an athlete as CM Punk is, I don't think he ever would have made it in UFC because that wasn't how he lived and breathed. Brock Lesnar was a different animal. Brock Lesnar was brought up, came up through University of Minnesota being a classically trained wrestler. So, obviously, you know, he has some background in that. And, you know, he's got big fucking meaty hands. So, you know, Lesnar was kind of a no-brainer in UFC. Punk, not so much. Punk didn't have that years and years and years of training. So, props to him for trying. But, you know, at the end of the day, it was a failed experiment. So, CM Punk being involved in wrestling again gives me a wrestling boner, as they say, as I've said before. Daniel Bryan having the freedom of AEW gives me a you know, is pretty fucking exciting to me too. So I think that both of those things happening hand in hand over in AEW is going to be amazing. The question I brought up on the show, if you listen to it, was, you know, whether they have too many cooks. I think that Bryan and Punk are both going to be smart. They're both wrestling guys, and they both like understand wrestling as an art form. So I think that they are realistically going to want what's best for business, which is guys like MJF, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, those guys getting over. And if you look how AEW has used Sting to point, has been great. I just, you know, keep them away from Cody and we'll be okay. So, and just a real quick mention, we are 1 week and 2 days away, 3 days, excuse me, from the debut of NFL 2021 Hall of Fame game next Thursday night in Canton, Ohio. Steelers and Cowboys. I'm ready. I am ready. I'm ready for this heat to break so I can walk without swimming. I'm ready for fall. I'm ready for autumn, the autumnal season. I'm ready for pumpkin spice and sweaters and Ugg boots and you know, yes, I am a basic bitch. Deal with it. But yeah, I mean, I love the autumn, so like, as excited as I am for the next month or so of wrestling, including All Out in September, I'm just as excited for the calendar to start to like go in the different direction, head towards fall. But yeah, football, man. I live and breathe football in the fall. I am a football fanatic to a fault. Ask my poor wife. So I'm super fucking jazzed up about it. We skipped fantasy last year. I'm the commissioner of a league of a bunch of people that we played, that we were in college with. I'm a commissioner of the league there, and you know, because of everything surrounding COVID and, you know, America and everything else last year, I decided that maybe we should skip a year. But now, ready to hit that ground running. Ready to get back in that fantasy game, ready to be a fantasy champion, and then like maybe like Tiger Bomb Tom tried to be, I can be the a dual champion of my fantasy league as well as of of the Cruiserweight Championship, which, by the way, we're in the final week of August, or my God, no, final week of July for the hashtag Cruiserweight Open. We have 4 competitors that are fans this month, 4 of us, so we have 8 total. It's very, very, very close. If you watched the video, if you watched our podcast this week, you know that it's, I think, Ransom's up on Bob Gray by 1 point, on me by 2 points, and I think Dave by 3 points. So it's anybody's game there. Denny's not far behind. So we picked Fight for the Fallen this week. I'm excited to see what happens with the Cruiserweight title. Could be leaving. I like sometimes, by the way, you see Eddie kind of peeking through here. Eddie being the guy from Iron Maiden. You know, maybe not. You see me, Eddie posted behind me in my head. Speaking of Eddie, real quick before I stop talking here, the wrestling world was on fire. I think yesterday or the day before, because somebody, and I'm not Poot. I don't quote my sources or whatever. I don't, fuck that. But somebody on Twitter, asked about the biggest, the hot take on wrestling, and they said that their hot take on wrestling was that Eddie Guerrero was a B player. Boy, did that get the internet wrestling community up in arms. That they said that Eddie Guerrero was only remembered so fondly because he's dead. Excuse me, and that if he were around, people wouldn't have him as a top tier wrestler. And people came out of the woodwork hunting this motherfucker with good reason. Eddie Guerrero, alive or dead, man, he's one of the absolute best. And yes, it's sad what happened to him. It's sad how that story ended. Unfairly, really, because it sucks, but at the end of the day, it's how the story ended. That we don't get a say in that. That's how the story ended. Regardless of the ending to the story, regardless of him being around or not, he was an amazing athlete, one of the greatest of all time. So, I don't buy that. I think that was somebody just looking to make their mark on Twitter, and mission succeeded. But if we're looking to be incendiary, and we're looking to say things that are going to start a wrestling war, you want my hot take on wrestling? You want my hot take? Because I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you a fresh, hot take. I'm going to give you a take that is fucking scorching, and yet so incredibly raw. Because this is what it is. It's beef. Raw. Here's my hot take on wrestling. Ric Flair is overrated. I don't think he deserves to be a 17-time champion. I think he was in the right place, right time for all of those, not all of them, for a lot of those championships. I think that guys did him a lot of services. Guys like Ricky Steamboat, guys like Randy Savage, even Hulk Hogan did his part. I think that Ric Flair was a good hand. I don't think he's one of the greatest of all time. Fight me. That's where we'll leave you. I hope that you enjoyed this little show, and I will continue to bust these out where you never know what I'm going to be talking to you about or talking to you from. Last time was the Ghost Planet. Today, Madison Square Garden for SummerSlam. Who knows what I'll be next week? On location, in your house. Who knows? But until then, my name is Beef the Legend, and this has been Beef Raw. Hope everybody has a rockin' day.